52 BC, September. Julius Caesar is standing in a field in central Gaul, looking at a problem that has no solution. On the hill in front of him, 80,000 Gallic warriors trapped inside the fortress of Alesia. Behind him, 250,000 Gallic relief forces marching to free them. Between the two, Caesar and 50,000 Roman soldiers. The math says Caesar is finished. He is outnumbered 5-1. He has no supply lines, no reinforcements, no way out. Every military mind in Rome and in Gaul expects him to retreat. Caesar does not retreat. Instead, he makes a decision so audacious that his own officers think he has lost his mind. He will not fight his way out. He will not run. He will build. In the next 21 days, Caesar will construct the most complex siege fortification in the ancient world. A wall to keep the enemy in, and another wall to keep the relief army out. A prison around a prison. And when 250,000 warriors arrive to destroy him, he will be standing between two armies, protected by nothing but timber and dirt. This is how it was done. Alesia sits on a flat-topped hill 400 meters above the surrounding plain. The slopes are steep on every side. Two rivers frame the valley below, the Ouse to the north, the Osirene to the south. The terrain itself is a natural fortress. Vercingetorix, the Gallic chieftain who had united the tribes of Gaul against Rome, chose this position deliberately. He had already beaten Caesar once. He understood Roman tactics. He knew that attacking uphill against a fortified position was close to suicide. His plan was simple. Hold Alesia. Wait for the relief army. Let Rome exhaust itself below. It was a good plan, but it had one fatal flaw: timing. The relief army was not yet assembled when Vercingetorix retreated into Alesia. He needed weeks, maybe a month. Caesar understood this the moment he saw the hill. If the relief army arrived before Caesar could build containment, Vercingetorix would break out. The relief army would push in, and 50,000 Romans would be destroyed between them. Everything depended on what Caesar could build and how fast he could build it. 21 days. That was the window. The engineers were already calculating. The first problem? Perimeter. To contain Alesia completely, Caesar needed a continuous wall around the entire hill. No gaps, no weak points. A single unguarded stretch of 50 meters, and Vercingetorix would pour through it at night. His engineers measured the circumference of the hill and the surrounding terrain. 11 miles. 17 kilometers of continuous fortification in 21 days. That is 800 meters per day, every single day, without stopping. The Romans solved this with a system they had perfected over centuries. The contravallation, the inner wall facing Alesia, was not one structure but a layered killing ground. First, a trench. 20 feet wide, 20 feet deep with vertical walls, impossible to cross under fire. In front of the trench, 5 rows of sharpened stakes embedded in the ground at angles, their points interlocking. Caesar called them chippy, tombstones. Any man who made it through the first obstacles would fall onto them. In front of that, concealed pits arranged in a checkerboard pattern, each containing a sharpened stake at the bottom, covered with brushwood, invisible until you stepped into one. Caesar called these lilia, lilies. They bloomed upward. The inner wall was rising, but that solved only one problem. The relief army was still coming. Day 8. The inner wall is half complete. Caesar's scouts ride in with numbers. The Gallic relief army is larger than expected. Not 100,000, not 150,000. The Council of Gallic tribes has assembled a force of 250,000 infantry and 8,000 cavalry. 5-to-1 odds just became worse. Caesar gathers his senior officers. The room is quiet. One general speaks what everyone is thinking. They should break the siege now, before the relief army arrives. Take whatever supplies they can carry and march for Roman territory. Caesar looks at him. If they abandon the siege, Vercingetorix escapes. The Gallic rebellion continues. Everything Rome has fought for in 8 years of Gallic campaigns evaporates. And a retreating Roman army, pursued by 250,000 warriors across open terrain, will not survive the march. Running is not safer. Running is slower death. There is only one option: build the second wall. While the inner wall faces Alesia to prevent breakouts, Caesar orders construction of an outer wall facing outward, 14 miles long, to face the relief army when it arrives. 14 miles of fortification, built simultaneously with the inner ring by the same men in the remaining days. His officers say nothing. There is nothing to say. The construction continues through the night. The engineering problem with the outer wall was different from the inner one. The inner wall needed to stop 80,000 people from breaking out at a single point. A breakthrough there would be local. Caesar could respond. The outer wall needed to hold 250,000 people across 14 miles simultaneously. Because the relief army would not attack at one point. It would attack everywhere at once, probing for weakness along the entire length, hitting multiple sections at the same time. 14 miles, 23 kilometers, with towers every 80 feet, 117 towers total, each requiring timber, labor, and time. Caesar's men were now sleeping in shifts. The logistics problem was brutal. 50,000 soldiers building fortifications need food, water, and tools. The food came from grain stores already collected. The water came from the rivers. The tools, axes, shovels, saws, were carried as standard legionary equipment, but timber was the crisis. The double wall consumed thousands of trees. As construction continued, the nearest forest receded further from the site. Teams of soldiers spent half their shift just hauling wood, and while half the army built, the other half stood guard, because Vercingetorix was watching from the hill, and he was not going to wait quietly. Day 12. The inner wall is not yet complete. Vercingetorix sends his cavalry out at night through a gap in the unfinished Roman line. 8,000 Gallic horsemen slip through in darkness. Their mission? Ride to the assembled tribes, accelerate the relief army, return as fast as possible. Caesar's cavalry pursues. A running battle in the dark. The Romans hold most of them, but not all. Several thousand Gallic riders reach the relief force and deliver the message. Alesia is besieged. Come now. Caesar knows what this means. The relief army is not 3 weeks away, it is days away. He accelerates construction. The legions work without full sleep cycles now. Torches burn through the night along the construction line. The sound of axes and hammers carries across the valley floor in the dark. Inside Alesia, Vercingetorix hears the construction continuing through the night and understands what Caesar is building. He attempts a second sortie, a direct attack on the incomplete sections of the inner wall at dawn. The Romans hold, but 2 sections are damaged and must be rebuilt. The clock is running, the walls are not finished, and on the horizon, dust clouds are appearing. The relief army is closer than anyone expected. Day 21. Both walls are complete. Caesar stands between them. 11 miles of fortification facing inward, 14 miles facing outward, 23 towers, 117 guard posts, trenches, stakes, concealed pits, layer after layer of engineered death in both directions. 50,000 Roman soldiers are now living inside a corridor between 2 walls. They cannot see over the outer wall to what is coming. They cannot retreat without abandoning everything. They are, in the most literal sense, trapped between the two armies they are trying to keep apart. Then the relief army arrives. 250,000 Gallic warriors spread across the hills surrounding the Roman position. From the Roman towers, soldiers look outward and see the hillsides covered with men from horizon to horizon. Campfires at night stretch as far as the eye can reach. The Gallic commanders survey the Roman fortifications and immediately understand the strategy. Attack both walls simultaneously. Force Caesar to split his army. Find the weak points under pressure. On the first day of the assault, they probe the outer wall at multiple points. The Romans hold. On the second day, Vercingetorix attacks the inner wall from inside while the relief army hammers the outer wall from outside. Caesar is fighting two battles in opposite directions at the same time. Day 23. The crisis point. The Gallic commanders have found it, a section of the outer wall on the northern slope, built across terrain so uneven that the Romans could not maintain the standard trench depth. A weakness, not obvious from the outside, but there. At dawn, Vercingetorix, a cousin of Vercingetorix commanding the relief army's assault force, concentrates 60,000 warriors against that single section. At the same moment, Vercingetorix launches his largest breakout attempt against the inner wall from inside Alesia. Caesar is receiving reports from two directions simultaneously. Both walls are under maximum pressure. Both are beginning to crack. He makes the decision that Alesia is remembered for. He strips men from the quiet sections of both walls, a gamble that those sections will hold without full garrison, and creates two mobile reserves, one for the inner wall, one for the outer. Then he rides, not to a command post, into the fighting. Caesar's soldiers could see his red cloak moving along the walls, both directions. When the line bent, he was there. When men began to fall back, he rode into them, shouting, rallying, visible. A general who could be seen was a general who could hold a line. But the northern wall is breaking. The northern wall breaks. 60,000 Gallic warriors pour through the gap. For a moment, a genuine, historical moment, the siege of Alesia is lost. The relief army is inside the Roman fortifications. The inner wall is still holding Vercingetorix, but the outer wall is breached. Caesar sends his last cavalry reserve around the outside of the position, a full ride around the entire circumference of the outer wall to hit the breakthrough force from behind. The Gallic warriors who poured through the gap now find Romans behind them, trapped between the inner wall they cannot get through and the cavalry that has appeared at their backs. The breakthrough force collapses. The gap in the outer wall is flooded with men trying to retreat through it. The retreat becomes a rout. Vercingetorix watches from the hill as the relief army breaks. He has no cavalry left to pursue anything. His food stores are nearly gone. His people inside Alesia are starving. The next morning, he puts on his finest armor. He rides out through the gates of Alesia alone. He circles Caesar's tribunal once. Then he dismounts, removes his armor, lays his sword at Caesar's feet, and sits down in silence. The siege of Alesia is over. The relief army is already dissolving back into Gaul. Caesar defeated 330,000 enemies with 50,000 soldiers. He did it without a single tactical retreat, without reinforcements, without a supply line. In 21 days of construction, followed by days of fighting on two fronts simultaneously. The fortifications at Alesia were so precisely engineered that archaeologists excavating the site 2,000 years later could reconstruct the exact position of every tower, every trench, every concealed pit, from the physical evidence still in the ground. The double wall was not a desperate improvisation. It was a calculated solution to an impossible equation. Caesar looked at the numbers, 50,000 against 330,000, and concluded that the only way to win was to remove movement from the equation entirely. stop both armies from maneuvering, force the battle to happen on ground he controlled at a time he chose. The prison around a prison was not a siege. It was a trap, and both armies walked into it. Military strategists still study Alesia today, not for the fighting, but for the engineering decision that made the fighting possible. The choice to build instead of retreat. Vercingetorix spent the next 6 years in a Roman prison. He was executed in 46 BC, paraded through Rome in Caesar's triumph. The wall that trapped him took 21 days to build. Sometimes the most aggressive thing a commander can do is stop moving and start building.